There's a lot of external pressures in the world today, politically, economically, and even in the social construct of how we perform in everyday life together as a collective society. With all the moving parts, what if you could gain the clarity in the uncertainty you need to get ahead? Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, are you ready to dive into the trenches and figure out what has high-performing leaders be high-performing leaders and make the key decisions by starting with the only thing that they can control in their life right now, which is themselves? If so, stay tuned as it's time to peel back the onion layers a bit and focus on what you need to accelerate your life and your productivity.
We got politics stuff, we got, economic stuff, we got pandemic stuff, all the stuff that is really making a lot of people uncertain about life. But what it does is whenever you're stepping into your humble alpha, your next step, you as a person and people that are around closest around you can walk with clarity, can walk with certainty that I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the world. I may not even know what's going to happen with my business 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. I may have to pivot again, but I know that I have the goods, I got the stuff that I need in order for me to take this next step with certainty, with clarity.
Today's show is brought to you by Alpha Coffee. Ambitious Vet, if you're looking for premium coffee to fuel your warrior lifestyle, look no further than Alpha Coffee. It's a veteran-owned and mill-spouse-owned online wholesale and brick-and-mortar business that started in a basement and has now grown to over $1 million in annual sales because of their warrior ethos. Don't believe me? Well, go check out their website. Check out all their blends, gear, and community impact projects by visiting www.alpha.coffee/ambitiousvet. Again, that's www.alpha.coffee/ambitiousvet, or you can click the link in the show notes below. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast. My name is Chris Hoffman. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran turned social entrepreneur. Here I dive into the trenches with today's most ambitious, goal-oriented, and growth-minded military veterans on the planet to empower you with the golden grenades needed to break through new levels of satisfaction, fulfillment, and success after stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. If you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, buckle up. It's time to grow and advance in your life.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We're right back inside the trenches. Today we got Lane Belone on the show. Lane is a Special Forces Green Beret veteran who helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and pioneers achieve purpose and reach optimal performance. His experience builds trust and adaptability within executive teams, forming them into laser-focused A-teams. His travels to 40 countries, climbing mountains and roughing the Arctic, helps lead others to break through their unknowns and stepping into their greatness. He's also a co-author of a brand new book entitled Unleash Your Humble Alpha, which shares how the leader you've always wanted to be idles right beneath the surface, Ambitious Vet. Lane, brother, are you there?
Yeah, man. Loud and clear.
Come on, man. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Show, brother.
I appreciate it, man. It's exciting to be here because for all those listeners that have been following the podcast for a while, this is our second conversation.
Yeah, man. And what's really cool about that is last time we spoke, you were just getting out of the Special Forces, man, really learning how to slow down, right? Because, you Green Berets don't know how to slow down very much. So yeah, Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, it's episode 8, when I was probably still interviewing guests from my cell phone in an empty apartment in San Diego, California. But Lane was, so gracious to give me his time and created some awesome content. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, it's episode 8, Become a Curious Explorer in Life, back in 2018 when we were just getting this thing going. So, brother, I'm going to tee it over to you. Man, fill the gap for Ambitious Vets are just like, man, I know who Lane is. I love that episode. Yeah. what has happened since being a curious explorer to today, man? Fill the listeners in.
Yeah, so I think it's of note to say that for those that are just now listening or haven't listened to that episode, watch the the growth. Notice the difference in between those guys or me and what we're doing now, what we've done. And what it boils down to is small baby steps every single day, remaining consistent and perfecting your own craft. And the stuff that we're going to talk about today, that's inside the book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, is the blueprint on how to extract that greatness that's already within and really focus on who you really are, what your purpose is, and how do you walk through life with certainty, because that's going to help you laser focus the things that you need to do. Because, at the time, I think it was recorded September 2017, because I think I had mentioned it was like a couple weeks after getting to Panama, and we got there in August. So, at that time I was trying some different things, and I was doing the GI Bill thing, and I was just doing stuff. I was taking steps, and that's the secret of getting where you want to go, is you got to take some steps. And it could be 1,111 steps, or it could be 17 steps, it could be 114, who knows, but you got to keep taking steps. And so I just wanted to mention that just right off the get-go, if you've been trying to do something and you just haven't gotten traction, if you've tried different things, keep going, don't quit, take small steps. And if they have seemed like big steps thus far, we'll try to take smaller steps. And so I just want to say that. Chris, really excited to be here. Love what we've both done in the past few years, the growth that we both had. And I just want to commend you for going the distance and continuing to push into the unknown. And that's what's going to allow us to reach the success that we desire and turn those end states into milestones. And so the past 3 years or so has been pretty interesting ride. The last episode, my wife and I were living down in Panama. We were just now getting in the thick of it, and we ended up staying there for about a year and a half. I did about a year of going to college, Florida State University. And then the last about 6 months or so, I was like, you know what? I just got to go all in. I'm going to go do this thing. And so I went all in, found a business partner that many of the listeners probably are familiar with, Stephen Kuhn, my business partner. And, so whenever we connected, that was the transition from me going, head first into travel experience and using travel as a tool for transformation to, okay, how do I apply this similar personal mission and apply it to the veteran space even more specifically? And so that's where him and we were part of the Vetpreneur tribe, and we ended up taking over it and becoming the leaders and being able to shift our personal mission into, okay, how do we continuously help veterans step into their greatness? And so it's been an interesting ride, taking a lot of, steps forward, a couple steps back, a couple side steps. And, we can talk about all those, and, just excited to be right here, right now.
Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, you've definitely grown a lot. I mean, we were just talking about that before we went on air, both of us, man. I mean, I got married since between now and last time we spoke. And I'm just like, man, I got some shit out of my way to be able to have that happen.
Yeah.
But brother, it's just good to hear. It sounds like a lot of multiple pivots in your life, which Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, it's important to, understand that, like Lane says, if you're not gaining traction, if you feel like you're not progressing in life, to find ways to either pivot what you're already doing. Maybe it's the right thing, but maybe it's the wrong industry, audience, or something like that. Find ways to still do what you love, but maybe it's not where you're actually at. So I love that. Lane, is great wisdom, man. So yeah, if you don't mind, I would love to unpackage that just a little bit more. So, you were previously doing like increased freedom, promoting travel creates fulfillment and stuff like that. And you still do. You and Stephen Kuhn still go into spiritual retreats and stuff like that, which I think I've done Cherokee Indian sweatshops, I think they're called. I haven't, I don't know the exact name, but I did that. That was the craziest experience. Ambitious Vet. If you haven't done Cherokee Indian, I think it's called sweat boxing or something. I don't know.
Some of them
But it was,
call sweat lodges. Yeah. They got a
yeah,
couple different names.
it was crazy. So walk us through that journey of, okay, walking away from increased freedom, why you stepped into the Vetrepreneur tribe and creating the quality of life enterprises and leading us up to writing this book, man, because I really do feel like before we dive into the nuts and bolts of the book, I think you really did leverage a lot of these principles as you led up. So you're a guy that, as they say, you're actually acting with the words that you're saying out of your mouth, if that makes sense. So kind of walk us through that process of why you chose to pivot, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it's important that, what you had just said about being able to pivot or calibrate and being able to listen to your inner knowing, I think is critical because a lot of times we get told from external sources, mentors, coaches, people that mean well, but they don't know you as well as you know yourself. And I guess the task is to know yourself better, to know thyself. And so as you go on that journey of knowing thyself, knowing yourself better, you'll be able to know which advice is applicable to you in your journey and to be able to listen to those subtleties and follow that intuition and to be able to calibrate as such. So I
Mm,
guess the thing is that what I was doing with increased freedom, using tool or travel as a tool for transformation, I'm still expressing that similar type of thing, but I'm just applying it or expressing it a little bit differently using a
mm,
different vehicle. And so
yeah.
one of the things that we talk about, Stephen and I, is that we as individuals have a purpose. We as individuals have an identity. And whenever we're able to figure that out, we're able to then apply that to a vehicle, a business, a project, a book, a whatever, fill in the blank. And you're going to be able to amplify your own individual identity and purpose because you're using something that a loudspeaker, to be able to amplify that. And then on top of that, be able to gather a team around you to allow them to fit in where they fit in this overall bigger picture or this bigger mission because the more people that are in an effort, the easier and faster it is for that thing to be realized. And so for me it's about really knowing myself, knowing how to apply the specific knowledge, wisdom, tactics, strategies to my journey, and then focus solely on that. So that way, life becomes this binary system to where, okay, is it part of my identity and purpose, at least for this chapter in life?
Mm,
Yes or no? And if it's a yes, I'm going to go 110%. If it's a no, maybe it's a hell no, and I'm never going to do that. Or
right.
maybe it's a no for now, and I'm going to put it on the back burner. But either way, I know that in this moment in time, this present moment, I know that I can act upon it with full enthusiasm, or I do something else with it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And what I'm hearing in that is instincts, which I think is a thing that us as ambitious veterans or vetrepreneurs, whatever you want to label us nowadays, right? You know, we have solid instincts. We have military instincts, man. I think we do so much mindset work, right? I did, first 6 months I got out of the Marine Corps, I did cognitive behavioral therapy because they were saying, hey, you need to rationalize your racing thoughts. And I'm just like, all right, give me some thought records, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But, stuff like that. But what I'm hearing and what you're saying is being toned into your instincts, which is a little bit different. And yeah, tell us more about that. How how you tune into your instincts and stuff like that. Because I think if more ambitious vetrepreneurs did that, they would be creating faster results in their life.
Yeah. So I think it really boils down to experience because instinct, intuition is all boiling down to this knowing factor. Because when you know something, you don't question it, you don't think about it, you just know it. And to get to that place often requires experience, and experience requires you trying some stuff out,
Yeah.
experimentation. And so I guess the thing is that be willing to fail if you need to, but don't go in with the intention of failing. And being able to look at a framework, look at a strategy, look at a specific handful of tactics or techniques, and then go and trying them out. Because you're not going to know if you really like that type of framework or that type of lifestyle, that type of business model, whatever it is that you're doing. You're not going to know that you like that until you actually experience it. Now, depending on how tuned in you already are right there, right now in this very moment, you may have a gut feeling or a deep knowing that, like, I know I don't like that, that, and that. Well, that's an incredibly great start. What you don't like or what you don't want is a great starting point. So, if you're beginning out, if you're listening to this right now and you're beginning out, or you haven't really solidified what it is that you really like, identify what you don't like or what you don't want. And then from that position, pivot to the positive version of it, or the thing that is really wanting to grab your attention or draw your attention, and then look for those threads, because that's what's going to really fill your soul, whenever you're doing this stuff, and it really boils down to that intuitive knowing, that instinct, and you're only going to get there by experience. And don't go in with the intention of failing. But when you do fail, because we all fail, we all, miss the mark, we all come up short, we all make mistakes, and that's fine. That's life. That's the journey. But having that thing that we're looking for, we're going to get it. And when we get it, we're going to know it. And that knowing, that instinct is only going to be realized with experience.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is it's like a feeling, right? It's like you're going to feel like you're doing the right thing. You're going to feel tuned in. You're going to be seeing results that are the results that you value, not what someone else values, and stuff like that. That's good stuff, man. So I want to dive into this book, man. Let's talk about the brand new book. Congratulations on the new book, man. I mean, what number book is this for you?
Well, this is the first real book.
Real book? Okay.
Yeah, book in your hands, selling it, on Amazon. So it's the first one. I had a couple of drafts, the travel book. I had 2 travel books actually, and a road trip guide. But this is the real deal. This is world class. Those other books were great. But stepping stones,
Yeah, for sure. No, I get it, man. I get it. So congratulations on the first official book. I mean, Ambitious Vet, if you go and follow Lane on social media, there's a lot of people taking just pictures with the book, talking about the biggest takeaways on where they're at inside the book, and stuff like that. So definitely, if you haven't already, go check it out on Amazon. But Lane, you co-authored it with a mutual friend of ours, your business partner, Stephen Kuhn, which is just a high-speed individual. Every time you're around him, you just feel good, right? He's very instinctual, knows how to get down to things very quickly. And I knew as soon as you guys partnered up, it was going to be firepower like no other. So why this book and why now?
Yeah, so right now is a critical time in the world to where people are tired of this alpha that we have grown accustomed to interacting with. These guys with chip on their shoulder, guys that have things to prove to the world, and that's fine. That's where we were. That's what got us here. But a lot of people are aching for this more alpha that is confident, but also has this humility about them. And that's exactly why we put together, the humble and the alpha. It's this almost dichotomy, these 2 opposing forces that when blended together in the perfect mix, you have this really potent individual that has presence in life and be able to get the most out of what they want and empower and elevate everyone around them. So we started out with actually drafting a book based on the HIT principles that Stephen put together, called, HIT stands for honesty, integrity, and transparency. And, so we started out with that, and we're like, okay, this is the way to live. This is a way of living that helps you get what you want in life in the most advantageous way and elevating others type of way. And then we started putting together other concepts and values and principles that we live by. And we're like, well, this is much more than just HIT. And so we were putting together these terms called creating space that we talk about all the time, relational capital, that we talk about all the time, radiant value, and of course, quality of life. And so when we put all this stuff together, we were like, man, we got something much bigger. And so that's when we shifted it from it being the HIT principles, kind of book of living, to what is now Unleash Your Humble Alpha. And it was definitely a process of dissecting our lives and being able to put it all together and package it into a concise, digestible read for anybody that reads it. Say, okay, this is great, I understand it, but most importantly, what are the action steps that I need to take in order for me to implement? And so that way I can step into my own version of a humble alpha.
Yeah, no, that's great, brother. And I was looking at the book a little bit, and you guys are like really reshaping societal expectations, which I think is a huge deal right now, especially during these times in 2020. Depending on when you're listening to this Ambitious Vet, we have a huge election coming up. Not to get too political, but the world is divided in more ways than it's ever been, and we need humble alphas, right? We need people that know how to step up and not have their ego or their pride lead, but really be able to find ways to have other people show up, build leadership around them and stuff like that. So that's really what I've been able to take away just from kind of doing my homework around the book a little bit. But I also want you to unpackage some meat of the book. And one of the key things that we spoke about previously was the principle of identity. Walk us through why that's important, and how we can seek to deepen our identity.
Yeah. So to build a little context with the book, we have 5 different sections, and the first 2 are dedicated to the individual, so the person, and the last 3 are more towards, okay, how do you build an organization? How do you build a team around you? But the most critical part is section 1, which is identity. And so identity, how we define it, is who you are and how you interact in the world. And being able to clearly identify who you are is so pivotal, because so many people have put labels on us, put roles and responsibilities, titles, and we've actually become reliant on those to be able to say who we are. For veterans, one of the identifiers is, I'm a military veteran. I was a sergeant, or I was a lieutenant, or I was this or that. And we become, these labels and these titles and roles and ranks. And then whenever we leave the military, we're like, okay, well, I'm not any of those now. Those were a part of me, but who am I now? Or who was I underneath that the whole time? And so this whole section of figuring out your identity is critical, because having a clear vision or picture of who you want to become is so critical, because that gives you that target, that gives you that thing to aim for, and that gives you the action step on how I need to live today. And so the first part of it is who I am, and we define it as a 2-word moniker, and to be able to say who am I. And then the second aspect of it, because we have a formula in the book, and the second part of it is how we interact in the world. And we define it, okay, how do I treat my mind? How do I treat my body? How do I treat strangers? How do I treat friends and family, those that I love? How do I treat my business? And the more specific we can define how we interact and how we treat other people or ourselves, the easier it is for us to then notice and observe, yes, this is exactly who I want to become, or no, and I don't like to revert back to, this binary way of living, but whenever you're clear on who you are, or clear how you interact in the world, you're clear on the principles and values that you live by, it makes everything so much easier. I don't have to think about, am I going to be a good person today? Or am I going to provide value? Or am I going to, talk crap about myself? Am I going to have negative thoughts about who I am? Or am I going to exude that to those that I love, all the friends and family around me? I automatically have an easy decision point of, no, I'm not going to do any of that bad stuff, because that's not who I am. And understanding that this is exactly who I am now, whatever I have, whether that be I'm a lazy person, or I don't work out a lot, or I'm not very clear-headed, or I talk negatively about myself, all these things, that's okay to say I am that right now. But what this exercise and what this, first section is about is clearly identify the most advantageous, positive version of that. So that way, each day, each moment, you're stepping into that. And, you know, I don't want to get all science on us, but, there's every single experience that we have, every thought that we have, every belief that we have, every interaction that we have imprints on our mind and our body. And over time, those become habitual, those become routine, those become our default, our automatic mode. And we're running on subconsciousness all the time, especially when we're thinking. For those that are interested in more of this stuff, check out Bruce Lipton. He's really amazing about all this kind of stuff. And he talks about it in depth. But basically, we're all always on default mode. And if that default mode is negative, if that default mode is disempowering for ourselves and disempowering for other people around us, well, that's what we're going to exude. And so what this is doing is we're reprogramming our brain, our mind, in order for us to step into our greatness, to step into that version of ourselves that we want to become. So identity is critical to, that's the diving board position where, okay, if I figure this out, I can move on to the what I do, which is the purpose. And so we can dive into that, or you can have if you want to have any follow-up questions on identity, more than happy to discuss it more.
Yeah. I mean, I think just to speak on the Ambitious Vet's behalf, and even for me personally, I mean, I think for me, the hardest part for the first 5 years, getting out, climbing corporate ladders, starting startup businesses and failing, is they failed before they even started because of my internal self-talk. Right. And it was usually around the lines of like, you're not good enough. You're not going to do this. Right. And Ambitious Vet, if you're having that internal turmoil, I request that you start doing stuff like picking up the Humble Alpha, right? The Unleash Your Humble Alpha book, getting plugged in with Lane Belone, Stephen Kuhn, to start refreshing that internal way of doing things, right? And then also getting plugged into your instincts, which are more natural versus just getting caught up in your head. Because I think a lot of veterans, we can get really strategic and overthink things. So, that is good stuff, man. And I just got a lot for myself out of sharing that, right? Because it wasn't until I started like being able to slow down and be like, okay, who am I? That's what I'm hearing what you're saying, man. Learning how to slow down and just be like, okay, well, actually, who am I versus just doing all the time.
If you don't mind me adding too that,
please, man. Yeah.
If you're listening to this right now, know that you can reprogram yourself. Mm-hmm. That the default that you once had, or you may be currently running under, can be changed. It is as simple as you deciding that you're going to step into your greatness starting today. Now, the journey of it and you stepping into that greatness, stepping into the best version of yourself will take some time for sure, but making the decision today and just knowing the fact that, you know what, my old default was disempowering. I always had negative thoughts, or I always did this, or I was doing that, but knowing that you can change it, knowing that your destiny is not final, that you have the pen in your hand to be able to write the chapter of life, write the book of life that you would like to have, and you hold the pen. And so just, Chris and I are here, and I know exactly Stephen would say the same thing, that you got this. All you got to do is decide. And if you need, people to help you empower yourself, join, dig into the trenches with the Ambitious Vet. We have, a community for the Humble Alpha. We got many communities that we're all part of that we can help each other, elevate each other, and to be able to help with that self-talk, because that's, what we speak into the world, especially about ourselves, it comes true. And it's even the negative,
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of put a lid on that, we can move on to the next section of the book if you want, break that down. But Ambitious Vet, just make sure that you don't make how you're feeling internally wrong either. Accept those emotions, stuff like that. But also, like Lane's saying within this chapter of the book or section of the book on identity, learn to slow down and write your own story versus being overly ambitious. Because I feel like you can also be overly ambitious, brother, where you're just doing things because you're trying to prove yourself, right? And just trying to get external validation, which could also be draining. But Lane, man, I'm excited to what's the next part of the book, and what's like the biggest takeaway that you think an ambitious vet could get out of it?
Yeah. So the next one, the section 2 is purpose. And how we define it in the book is the what you do. So identity is how or who you are and how you interact in the world. Purpose is the what you do, the physical things, the actions that you take. So that's why it's so critical to know who you are and how you interact in the world. So that way, when you do something, you know how you're going to do it. You know the approach that you're going to take, the principles and values that you're going to live by as you take those steps and take action. And the cool thing about the purpose is that when you clearly identify who you are and how you interact in the world, it makes identifying your purpose that much easier. So the things that you do, the businesses that you run, the projects that you start, whatever it is that you're doing, this purpose is going to allow you to take it with action and have clarity every single time you take a step forward. I think the biggest thing to think about is that from the macro point of view is that when we look at purpose, there's this thematic, this overarching kind of life purpose that each one of us has. And it's kind of vague. It's kind of this kind of almost intangible like definition. And on the flip side of that, we have this, what do I do now? What is this life chapter? So if you think about life as a book, there's a type of book that you're reading. And then each chapter has its own theme or its own thing that happens. And so that's exactly what life is. And by just kind of figuring out that, look, my purpose in life doesn't have to be ultra clear. It doesn't need to be like Elon Musk and say, okay, well, I'm going to get people to Mars and that's my life purpose and that's all I'm going to do.
Right.
And all my businesses are going to fall under that. Right. But being able to dissect this thematic, how you interact in the world and then apply it to what life has for you right now. And if that means that you're in the first couple of years of business, or maybe you're doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you're doing, you're applying that thematic life purpose and you're giving it more tangibility. You're giving it more concreteness, and to be able to really define it so that way you can take massive action towards it and be that ambitious vet that goes after it and gets it their all. Because being able to have all that energy and ambition without a clear defined aim or path or thing that you're wanting to go after, sometimes you can find yourself spinning wheels. You're trying things that you're really not made for. And that's okay. That's life. And that's exactly what this podcast and what Chris and I are here for, that we're here to help you shortcut your success by helping you identify areas in which, okay, I definitely don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do that. Okay. Now this path is becoming, instead of 180 degrees, it's zoning in on this, like maybe, 25 degrees of like action that this little zone for me to take massive action towards.
Yeah.
And
good.
so, so both of these sections of the book are incredibly potent. They build off of each other. And whenever you have that, what that leads to is that you walk in life with certainty, getting clear on your identity, getting clear on your life's purpose and this life's chapter's purpose. You can walk through this next chapter. You can walk in this present moment with clarity, with certainty, and this sense of knowing that, especially right now in 2020, like nobody knows how 2020 is going to end. It's totally up in the air. We got politics stuff. We got, economic stuff. We got pandemic stuff, all this stuff that is really making a lot of people uncertain about life. But what it does is whenever you're stepping into your humble alpha, your next step, you as a person and people that are closest around you can walk with clarity, can walk with certainty that I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the world. I may not even know what's going to happen with my business 6 months from now. I may have to pivot again, but I know that I have the goods, I got the stuff that I need in order for me to take this next step with certainty, with clarity.
Yeah, no, that's great, brother. I mean, I love how obviously logical. It builds off each other. But what I'm also hearing is just focus, being able to actually focus. I think a lot of ambitious vets, I know for myself, the first few years getting out, is I was just trying to survive, especially during this time, during COVID times, man. It's just so easy to get into this like reactive stage where, hey, I've got to make money. So I'm going to go, take this job that doesn't honor my identity or my purpose, but I need to make money. And we're making those daily, weekly, and monthly decisions based on something that is based out of survival. And what I'm hearing, man, is this allows them as an ambitious vet to get clear, man, on just really like what is that next step. I mean, you see a lot of self-help, a lot of self-improvement, quote unquote, gurus out there that are like, hey, this is the time to invest in yourself. This is the time to slow down and actually redefine who you are in your circumstances, no matter where you're at. Ambitious vet, if you just got furloughed and you're looking at what that next career is, if you're stuck in your business and you got the SBA loan and you're just surviving off that until you can figure out how to create a new business model to adapt to this damn shit that's going on. But use this book to re-identify who you are for your company or what you're about for the world. Find that purpose. And as I always say, clarity does breed confidence. It's going to boost your confidence. So, Lane, man, take us home with the last section. What do you got to say about that last section?
Yeah, so I think that what the first two sections of the book really allow you to do is step into your greatness and become a winner. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we could talk about the book, but I think what I really like to talk about is to differentiate between going for wins and becoming a winner. And it's such a subtle, small, kind of seemingly insignificant difference, but a lot of people, they're trying to go for wins in life. They're trying to get the goal. They're trying to get that XYZ revenue that they're putting together. They go for all these wins, and they're always going to be chasing wins their whole life. And that's just the nature of it. Until you shift from, I'm going to go after goals, I'm going to go after wins, until like, you know what? I want to become a winner. So then it doesn't matter what action that you take, that you're going to win at that eventually, because that's just part of your nature. That's the chemical makeup of who you are, because you're not going to give up. You're going to keep figuring it out. Yeah, you're going to pivot. Yeah, you're going to fall. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to win because you're a winner. And, for me personally, it was a small identifier whenever I was training for the Special Forces, right? So, I was a young dude trying to go after something cool, and I didn't know exactly what I was going after, but, I was figuring it out as I went. And looking back, it was like, okay, I want to get this Green Beret. I want to earn the Green Beret. I want to earn the tab. And somewhere within phase 2, which is small unit tactics, I was like, man, I want to get the Green Beret, but like, I just want to like excel at the stuff that I'm doing. And, before I was in training for the Special Forces, I was, high PT score, top of the platoon, all this kind of stuff. But it was always kind of chasing wins and this kind of thing. And then I had that realization of like, you know what? I just want to win at whatever I go after. And that was the switch for me internally, was like, all right, how do I just become great within myself? And then whatever action I take, whatever project that I pursue, whatever business I want to chase after, that I'm going to win eventually, because I'm not going to give up and I'm not going to quit. And I'm just going to keep trying stuff. And I wish I had this book whenever I was, much younger. But that's just the way life works. And if I was able to figure out who I really was or who I was becoming, it would have been much easier for me to identify the keystone activities, things that I needed to do, what I was doing in life. And so that's the power of this book. It shortcuts your way to the places that you want to go, and you define the places that you want to go. Sure, you're going to find inspiration from other people, leaders that you follow or you want to emulate, or certain aspects that you would like to emulate from either their leadership style or their life or their business model. But you're able to take ownership of your journey, take ownership of your life, take responsibility and say, you know what, this is how I'm going to move forward. There's a lot of people that, Stephen and I get advice from a lot of people, and a lot of the advice isn't on point because they don't take the time to listen to where we're going. It's like the cookie cutter solutions, these models that have worked for other people 100%, but based on who we are, where we're going, there's these certain ways that just like, okay, well, I appreciate your advice, but we have ownership of our own journey, both as individuals and for our business, and to say this is how we have to operate because that's who we are, and this is what we've decided. And whenever you come to a place like that, it's sometimes tough because it's like, man, there's a lot of advice and it's great, but you'll know the advice that resonates because it goes back to that intuition, that instinct, that feeling that, you know what, this is the pathway forward. This is the action that we need to take. This is the model that we need to emulate. And this is the strategy that we need to take for our business and for our lives.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's a proactive way to, operating and performing in life versus reacting based on other people's opinions, man. Because, opinions are dime a dozen, man. You can go on social media and get 1,000 opinions right now, right? But what resonates with you, Ambitious Vet? And that's what this book allows you to do. So before we thank our sponsor, Ambitious Vet, Lane, I just want to ask you, following this model, who are you? What do you do? And also, what are you deciding to win in life on right now?
Putting me on the spot, huh?
Come on, man. Ambitious Vet Show. Get on the court, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm a explorative pioneer. I like to go into the unknown and really feel that unknownness, that place that I've never been or that I don't recall or whatever it is, and to be able to really live in that moment, really cherish into that being present. And then from that, I'm able to then look back and retrospect and piece the steps together. And that allows me to help pave the path for other people. So that's who I am. That's how I interact in the world. And what was the last part again?
So just the what, and then what are you deciding to win at right now?
Deciding to win is really letting go. And that's really about, we talk about in the book, we have 3 steps of letting go, but it's about really clearly identifying like who I want to become. And then, some of the hardest work is the letting go process.
Yeah.
And right now that's what I'm putting a lot of effort towards in my own personal journey, to be able to let go of the old beliefs, the old ways of living that no longer serve me. And when you get to a certain part of the journey, things become very subtle. And it's not about like I'm living in anger or I'm living in these types of, mindsets, but it's just this very deeply rooted, very subtle types of beliefs that if you weren't thinking about it, or if you weren't noticing things like that you would probably brush it off as just a fleeting thought. And once you get to a point of noticing these subtleties, you're looking at the root of it, and then identifying what the root of these subtleties are, and then letting them go. That's my biggest personal thing. Of course, the book is one of the big things that Steve and I are pushing, both on Audible, and being able to take the Humble Alpha and applying it to Humble Alpha parenting. That's already being drafted right now, and applying the Humble Alpha in the veteran space with our veteran entrepreneur community, the vetpreneurs, and being able to allow this framework of figuring out who you are, what your purpose is, how to build teams, how to empower others, how to invest in relational capital while having quality of life, all packaged up into this one way of living. that's the intention of, behind the Humble Alpha. And it's applicable to many different industries, different types of, populations, communities. And we're really excited to be able to push the Humble Alpha out into all these different arenas of life.
It's good. I'm happy I put you on the spot, brother, because all that stuff was amazing. And I think a lot of ambitious vets may carry themselves with anger and don't know how to let go of it. Stuff like that. I mean, I definitely experienced that for the first few years out of the uniform. So man, just for you to squeeze out that little bit of golden grenade there was awesome. So thank you for doing that. So ambitious vet, we're going to take a real quick break to thank our sponsor. We'll be right back inside the trenches with Lane Belone. What's going on, ambitious vet? Are you ready to dive into the trenches with other ambitious, goal-oriented, and just gritty veterans looking at what the next stage of life looks like for them? Well, look no further than going and checking out the Ambitious Vet Network Facebook group or LinkedIn group by clicking the link in the show notes below. There, you'll be able to network and grow and advance in the trenches with other veterans that see your relationship as a long-term relationship. Not just, I got what I need, now let's go do what I need to do. No, build lifetime relationships and create long-term accountability. If you're ready to do that, go click the links in the show notes below. Whether you prefer LinkedIn or Facebook, it doesn't matter. Get connected within the group and start networking and finding the relationships that are going to create the next opportunity for your life. Take care. All right, ambitious vet, we are inside the trenches with Lane Belone. He's actually co-author of the brand new book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. We've been diving into the key principles this whole show, ambitious vet, and I just have to tell you, it's been amazing. What I'm learning newly inside this conversation with him is this is a way for you, ambitious vet, to slow down in life. Kind of like the Matrix, right? That the first Matrix Reloaded, where you can slow down, grab the bullets and observe them as they're coming in versus just reacting to the bullets coming to you. It's a lot of great principles, great tools to just slow down in life and start understanding who you are. So you can go be that humble alpha out inside the trenches, which is only going to help you boost your performance, but also live a more fulfilling life, which is what we're all about here. So, Lane, man, I'm going right back over to you, man. We got a tradition here. I mean, you've already dropped golden grenade after golden grenade, but what would be 3 golden grenades that you would provide to any ambitious vet that may be feeling unsatisfied, just unfulfilled right now in life, and just looking at, hey, how do I break through to new levels of success? What would be those 3 golden grenades?
Yeah, clearly identify where you're going. And it goes back to what we were talking about before, clearly identifying your identity, clearly identifying what this life's chapter looks like and how you want it to look, feel, and just really getting clear on that. So take a piece of paper, write down who you are, how you want to interact in life, and specifically write down how you treat your mind, how you treat your body, how do you treat your friends and family, how do you treat strangers, how do you treat your business, how do you, so get clarity on that, and then define what you want to do. So that's the first step. And the second thing I want to share with you is that when you clearly identify where you're going, again, you're going to have to let something go in order for this thing to, this greatest version of yourself to blossom. And you heard me mention it before that letting go of stuff that no longer serve you can be difficult. But there's a 3-step process that we share in the book, and it goes like this: that first thing that you have to do to let go of anything is identify what that is. And that could be a bad habit, it could be an addiction, it could be negative self-talk, it could be things that you're doing that are not in alignment with the identity that you are defining for yourself, the person that you're becoming. So all these things are identified as you needing to let it go. So that's the first step. The second step is to accept it. And acceptance is one of those things where, yes, this thing was part of my journey. It happened. I can't do anything about it. I can't reverse back time. I just need to accept it. And by allowing yourself to accept it, you're putting this thing that you don't want anymore into a neutral state. This kind of neutral way of it being a bad habit. Yeah. Okay. It was a bad experience. Or I had an addiction. I want to quit drinking, or I want to quit smoking, or I want to quit doing this or doing that. Whatever it is, you're like, okay, that was part of my path. And when you accept it, it just converts it from like this negative energy to like, okay, now it's like in the middle. It's this, this neutral type of feeling, experience, thing that happened to you. The third step is to appreciate. And appreciation is an incredibly powerful feeling that you can invoke in yourself to get what you want in life. But for specifically letting go, what it allows you to do is it basically gives this addiction, this negative habit, this bad stuff that you think that you've done or whatever, and it gives it a big old bear hug. And it says like, bro, guess what? It's all going to be good, because without this thing that you had, that you had done, or this behavior that you kept on doing over and over and over, or this addiction that you had, or attachment, or whatever it is that you're letting go, that without that, you wouldn't be on this springboard of success, or this pivotal moment of clarity, of awareness of who you are and where you're going. And with the acceptance and coupled with that, with the appreciation, you're able to turn this negative energy to neutral, to heck yeah, this is like awesome. Like, because that's no longer who I am. And one of the tests, that's a really easy test to know that if you've actually let something go, is that when you look back on, let's just say drinking, right? When you look back on a drinking habit and you're like, you know what? I wish I wasn't like that, If you have that kind of reaction of like a little bit of shame, a little bit of guilt, you haven't actually let it go yet. It's one of those things where, like, a grandpa, right? When we think of grandpas, we think of, him having those good old days when he was a young teenager. He can look back on it fondly because he's let it go. He's like, all right, look, I'm not a teenager anymore. Like, maybe I did some crazy, wild drinking, partying, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But he doesn't think of it like, oh man, I wish I wasn't, an a-hole to all these people, or, I wish I didn't do that. Like, he's like, hey, that's what young people do. You know what I mean? So when you disassociate from that old behavior, that aspect of yourself that you're letting go of, with a like, whatever, that was what it was, like, yeah, I learned from it, and I'm definitely not that person anymore. And I don't exhibit that behavior still, but I'm not given this like sticky, like feeling of like, oh, regret, guilt, shame. All those things are out the window because you've actually appreciated it, and your trajectory in life is just onward and upward.
No, I love that. You're not putting any energy into the past anymore. You're being present in the moment. You're creating the future. You can actually create the future, right? So, yeah, man, thanks for just bringing in that wisdom. I'm sure you got that through a lot of your spiritual trips and just your journey, man. Becoming a curious explorer in life, going and trying new things has allowed you to continue to figure out new ways to let go of, even, I'm sure, the dramatic experiences of being a Special Forces Green Beret, man. So just thank you for coming in and dropping those 3 golden grenades. Ambitious Vet, I promise you, if you just leverage that one right there, just learning how to let go or even forgive yourself for some things. I mean, damn, I'm going to go reflect with a cigar and a whiskey tonight and just be like, hey, what am I still hanging on to? So thanks for that, brother. So where can an Ambitious Vet go find out more about the brand new book and more about you?
Yeah. So get the book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. It's on Amazon. You can go to humblealpha.com/Amazon, or you can go to Amazon and search Unleash Your Humble Alpha. By the time this airs, it'll be live on Audible. So if you're an audio book guy, go to Audible and search Unleash Your Humble Alpha. We got an incredible performance. Stephen and I, we did not narrate. We did not voice the book. We had a really professional, great person, the exact voice talent that we needed to do the book. And to find more about us or Stephen or I, you can go to QOLenterprises.com. You can find out more about how to get a hold of us. Or, Stephen and I were both on social media. Stephen Eugene Kuhn on Facebook and Instagram, and of course Lane Belone on Facebook. And then I'm under Increased Freedom. I'm still rocking the old handle.
Get it, man, get it.
Yeah, so I'm really active on Instagram. So yeah, hit us up, ask us questions, but get the book. It's really gonna change your life, or has the potential to change your life. Of course, you have to take ownership, take action, but it's incredibly powerful. And we've gotten some incredible feedback from both young people, 17, 18-year-olds, and people that have retired from the military as colonels, people that are 55, 65, 70 years old. So the spread of wisdom inside the book is applicable to no matter who you are, but especially for veterans, because Stephen and I, we wrote it as, with the lens of us both being veterans. And it's just incredibly powerful, and look forward to hearing your feedback.
Yeah. An ambitious vet, you don't know what kind of questions to ask if you don't read what we're talking about. So go and make sure that you go and review the book, and understand those concepts, and anything that may be gray, reach out to them. That being said, man, I just appreciate your time, brother. I know we ran over like 5 minutes, but brother, every time I reach you, it's just good wisdom. And we started this whole journey like 2-3 years ago, man. It's just, yeah. Congratulations on all the continued success, new business opportunities and stuff like that. But more importantly, thank you for joining the Ambitious Vet Show, man.
Likewise. And, appreciate, us being in each other's journey and being a part of it and elevating each other. And that's just the nature of how veterans operate. We got each other's back. We elevate each other, we support, and we are all better for it.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, thanks to Alpha Coffee, a lifestyle coffee company, online wholesale, and brick and mortar company based in Utah, for sponsoring the show today. Ambitious Vet, if you're ready to fuel that everyday warrior lifestyle that you have, look no further than Alpha Coffee. Check out all their gear, all their blends, and all their accessories at www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet. Again, that's www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet.